400 million euros have effectively reshaped Europe's energy future. 200 million euros come from Germany, and another 200 million from Canada. Together, they are funding 300 megawatts of electrolysis capacity in Newfoundland, enabling renewable hydrogen to be produced and shipped directly across the Atlantic to major German industrial players. This project involves no American participation, no United States technology, and no approval from Washington. The European Commission has officially approved the plan, allowing Germany to secure clean hydrogen for steel mills and chemical plants, while Canada gains long-term export contracts worth billions. At the same time, U.S. natural gas exporters receive nothing from this deal. Tonight, we break down how Newfoundland emerged as a key hydrogen supplier for Europe, which German industries are converting to Canadian fuel, and why American LNG is rapidly losing access to a future market. The most surprising part is that this agreement is only the beginning. If the project succeeds, France, the Netherlands, and Belgium are expected to pursue similar contracts. Stay with us until the end. And before we continue, if you value in-depth, easy-to-follow analysis like this, hit the like button and subscribe to stay informed on the stories that truly matter. To understand the impact, we need to look at what the European Union actually approved and why it matters for transatlantic energy flows. On January 15, 2026, the European Commission cleared a German state aid scheme under Article 173C of the Treaty on the Functioning of the European Union. This article allows member states to support economic activities focused on climate protection and environmental sustainability. Teresa Ribeiro, Executive Vice President for a Clean, Fair, and Competitive Transition, described the decision as necessary to meet Europe's growing demand for renewable fuels. She praised Canada as a trusted trade partner and highlighted the success of the EU-Canada Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, along with their strategic cooperation on raw materials. The Commission carefully assessed whether German funding could distort competition and concluded that the climate benefits outweigh any potential market concerns. As a result, the plan was approved under the 2022 Guidelines on State Aid for Climate, Environmental Protection, and Energy. This approval is not symbolic. It is a legally binding decision that authorizes 400 million euros in public funding for hydrogen infrastructure directly connecting Canada and Germany. With approval secured, money can now flow, contracts can be finalized, and construction can begin. What stands out is what the European Commission chose to emphasize: reducing reliance on Russian fossil fuels, accelerating the clean energy transition, and supporting the REPowerEU plan. Every justification clearly shifts Europe away from American natural gas and toward Canadian renewable hydrogen. The production capacity explains what Europe is actually receiving from Canada. The project includes 300 megawatts of electrolysis capacity, which separates water into hydrogen and oxygen using electricity. Newfoundland's power grid is already 95% hydroelectric. Churchill Falls alone produces 5,400 megawatts. Muskrat Falls adds 824 megawatts, and Bay d'Espoir contributes another 562 megawatts. These large hydro facilities allow hydrogen production without direct emissions. At this scale, 300 megawatts can produce roughly 15,000 tons of renewable hydrogen each year. That hydrogen is converted into ammonia for transport. Ammonia is stable, non-explosive, and easy to ship using standard chemical tankers. Once it reaches Germany at terminals such as Wilhelmshaven or Brunsbüttel, it is converted back into hydrogen and delivered directly to industrial facilities. 15,000 tons represents meaningful industrial supply. Germany's steel sector alone requires millions of tons annually to replace coal in blast furnaces. ThyssenKrupp is converting its Duisburg plant to hydrogen-based direct reduction. Salzgitter is building hydrogen-powered steel production. BASF's chemical complex in Ludwigshafen is planning to replace fossil-based hydrogen feedstock. All of these facilities need a reliable and continuous supply. This Canadian capacity targets real demand. It is not a pilot project or a demonstration facility. It is industrial-scale production designed for confirmed buyers with binding offtake agreements. By 2030, the first deliveries are scheduled to arrive just as German industries face mandatory emissions reduction deadlines. And this is only phase 1. If the initial 300 megawatts succeed, expansion is expected. Canadian developers are already planning gigawatt-scale facilities, and German buyers are signaling interest in securing additional volumes. This agreement establishes a template for a much larger hydrogen trade. Germany has also designed a structured mechanism to bridge the gap between hydrogen production costs and market prices. Under this system, Canadian producers bid the minimum price per kilogram they need to make projects viable. German industrial buyers bid the maximum price they are willing to pay. Government funding fills the difference. This creates real price discovery, avoids arbitrary subsidies, and prevents political favoritism. It is a competitive market framework supported by public funding to bridge today's costs until future economies of scale reduce prices. Infrastructure is already in place. Ports are certified for large vessels. Storage tanks are active. Loading systems are proven. Shifting to ammonia exports needs upgrades, not brand new construction. This saves years of development and billions in capital costs. Marine Atlantic keeps shipping lanes ice-free all year. The Coast Guard provides icebreaker assistance when required. Centuries of North Atlantic marine experience ensure weather management and schedule reliability. This is the consistency European buyers expect and Canadian operators deliver. By comparison, U.S. alternatives would produce hydrogen in the Southwest using solar or in the Midwest using wind. Both are far from the Atlantic coast. Both would require entirely new port infrastructure. Both face higher shipping costs to reach Europe. Newfoundland wins on logistics before production even begins. Canadian hydropower runs 24/7 regardless of weather. No intermittency. No backup power. No grid integration issues. Just continuous renewable electricity enabling continuous hydrogen output. European buyers value this reliability above all else. Germany is building import infrastructure timed precisely with Canadian supply. The Wilhelmshaven terminal on the North Sea is under construction now, designed specifically for ammonia imports. It includes large cryogenic storage, conversion systems that split ammonia back into hydrogen, and pipeline links feeding the Ruhr Valley steel sector. Completion is scheduled before Canadian deliveries start. The Brunsbüttel terminal on the Elbe River serves a different market, supporting Hamburg's chemical industry. German steel producers must meet hydrogen usage requirements or face shutdowns. Chemical manufacturers must convert processes or risk losing operating approvals. The automotive sector must adopt cleaner technologies or fail emission standards. All depend on reliable clean hydrogen to keep operating. American natural gas cannot meet these criteria. Even U.S. renewable hydrogen faces doubts about regulatory compliance and long-term reliability due to political uncertainty. European buyers cannot risk contracts with suppliers whose policies may change every election cycle. Canada provides what Europe needs. The United States offers what Europe is required to phase out. Markets respond accordingly. German industry signs long-term contracts with Canadian suppliers, while American exporters search for buyers in shrinking fossil fuel markets. The economic impact explains why Newfoundland and Labrador embraced this opportunity. Population around 540,000. Historically high unemployment. Young workers leaving for jobs elsewhere. Offshore oil declining. Fisheries collapsed decades ago. Forestry under pressure. The province urgently needs diversification. Hydrogen delivers it. Around 500 construction jobs building electrolysis facilities over 2 to 3 years. Strong wages. Skills training. Local procurement. Direct investment into communities that need it most. Around 200 permanent jobs once operations begin. These roles include process engineers, maintenance staff, safety specialists, quality control, logistics, and coordination. Careers offering long-term stability, supporting European contracts lasting decades, not months. Timing aligns perfectly. As offshore oil production declines, hydrogen production rises. Workers transition from one energy sector to another. The skill sets match. Project management experience. Safety culture. Marine logistics expertise. A natural shift from the old economy to the new. By contrast, the United States offered Newfoundland pressure to export hydropower south at low prices, threats limiting market access, and demands for unfavorable terms. No local industry, no job creation, just resource extraction. Canada and Germany offered partnership, industrial development, skilled employment, and long-term prosperity. For a province long feeling overlooked, the choice was clear. This agreement marks the third renewable hydrogen import scheme approved by the European Commission. First approval in December 2021, second in December 2024, third in January 2026, specifically for Canada. A clear pattern is forming. The European Union is systematically building hydrogen import capacity, diversifying suppliers, spreading geopolitical risk, and preventing monopoly dependence. And notice who consistently appears in approved projects. Canada. Renewable resources. Political stability. Regulatory alignment with European standards. A proven willingness to meet strict compliance rules. These factors make Canada a preferred supplier globally. The United States is notably absent from all approved schemes. The reason is clear. Most American hydrogen comes from natural gas reforming with carbon capture. Even with capture, emissions remain too high to qualify as renewable under European law. U.S. renewable hydrogen also faces skepticism. Long-term climate policy uncertainty. Political volatility. Questions about contract durability. Grid limitations that complicate compliance with European timing requirements. Every factor undermines competitiveness. Canada delivered exactly what Europe demanded. Clean hydrogen from a stable partner committed to climate action. The United States offered fuels Europe is legally obligated to reduce. The Commission approved Canadian projects and declined American options. The signal could not be clearer. The United States once had a strong path to European energy leadership. Geography favored it over the Middle East. LNG infrastructure already existed. Commercial relationships were established. Expansion only required consistency. That future collapsed rapidly. Tariffs on Canadian goods pushed Canada closer to Europe. Pressure on NATO allies encouraged Europe to diversify energy dependence. Withdrawal from global climate commitments made American fossil fuels politically unacceptable in markets focused on emissions reduction. Canada filled the gap with exactly what Europe wanted: clean energy from a democratic partner. Canada now offers long-term supply security without geopolitical risk. Technical standards that meet strict European rules. Reliable delivery backed by binding contracts and government guarantees. American LNG exporters cannot compete, even if they try. Producing renewable hydrogen at competitive cost requires abundant, low-cost clean electricity. The United States has renewable resources but lacks consistent political commitment. Grid constraints, regulatory delays, and policy reversals prevent the long-term certainty European buyers require. Even if a future U.S. administration reverses course and attempts to rebuild trust, the window has closed. By then, Canadian hydrogen facilities will be operating. German industries will already be converted. 30-year contracts will be locked in. European energy security will be anchored in Canadian supply. The United States removed itself through its own actions. American exporters will spend decades analyzing how leadership slipped away. Meanwhile, Canadian hydrogen flows to Europe, fossil fuel markets continue shrinking, and the strategic consequences are already set in place.